Day everyone. We are from the group 6 and today we will be discussing about the adrenergic bronchodilators. But before we delve into this topic, gusto ko lang i-remind again sa atin yung importance kung bakit natin pinag-aaralan ng mga to. Kung bakit very important na alam natin yung mechanism ng isang drug, saan siya ginagamit, and kung kailan siya hindi gagamitin. Because as a future respiratory therapist, part ng magiging job natin or ng magiging work natin ang mag-administer ng different respiratory drugs na like bronchodilators and mucolytic agents and so on. Next slide, please. So for the objective in this chapter, the reader will be able to number 1, define sympathomimetic. Number 2, define adrenergic. Number 3, list all currently available beta-adrenergic agents used in respiratory therapy. Number 4, differentiate between the specific adrenergic agents and formulations. Number 5, describe the mode of action for each specific adrenergic agent and formulation. Number 6, describe the route of administration available for agonist. Number 7, discuss adverse effects of agonists. And last but not the least, clinically assess beta agonist therapy. Next slide. So ano nga ba ang adrenergic? 'Di ba from our previous topic, kapag sinabi nating adrenergic, it is an agent that stimulates a receptor for norepinephrine and epinephrine. So 'di ba, wait lang po. So 'di ba si norepinephrine or si and epinephrine, mga ano sila, mga neurotransmitter ng sympathetic nervous system. And kapag sinabi naman nating sympathomimetic, these are agents that produce effects similar to those of the sympathetic nervous system. So 'di ba sympathetic nervous system is yun yung tinatawag nating fight or flight response. So si sympathomimetic, gano'n din siya, ginagaya niya lang kung paano nagwo-work si sympathetic nervous system. Next slide, please. So, what are adrenergic bronchodilators? Adrenergic bronchodilators are agents that stimulates the sympathetic nervous system, causing relaxation of airway smooth muscle. It is also known as sympathomimetic bronchodilators or beta-2 agonists. So dito, si adrenergic bronchodilators, isipin na lang natin, just a simple analogy, para siyang just like when you're hugging someone tightly, so tightly, yung pag-hug na yon is para siyang ano, sakit na asthma. Ganun, kung saan nagkakaroon ng bronchoconstriction. And kapag yung, syempre, yung taong hinahag mo, is, syempre, kapag hindi na enough yung air na, hi- na, hin- tawag dito, yung air na pumapasok sa lungs niya, syempre mahirapan siyang huminga. Parang magwi-wiggle siya para lang lumuwag yung pagkahawak mo sa kanya. And that pag-wiggle niya, para siyang bronchodilator yun. Para siyang action ng bronchodilator. Para luwagan mo or lumuwag yung airway mo. Ganun. And then next please. Next po. Yan. So what are the clinical indications for adrenergic bronchodilators? So kapag sinabi nating indications, kailan natin ginagamit ang bronchodilators? So generally, it is used for the relaxation of airway smooth muscles. But ito yung mga target conditions niya. We have here acute and chronic asthma, including exercise-induced. Di ba kapag may mga instances na after nilang exercise or gumawa ng mga vigorous activities, ayan, nagkakaroon sila ng asthma, nagkakaroon ng constriction ng airways nila. Then we also have bronchitis. Bronchitis is inflamed yung ano nila, bronchus. And then emphysema. Ito yung tinatawag natin na pink puffers, I think. And then bronchiectasis and other lung disease. Next. Here are the other indications based on rate of onset, peak effect, and duration. So number one, indication for short-acting agents or yung tinatawag nating mga short-acting bronchodilators, yung mga SABA natin. It is used to relieve acute reversible airflow obstruction in asthma and other obstructive airway diseases. Example nito, we have albuterol, levalbuterol, and pirbuterol. It is termed as a rescue. It is termed as rescue agents by NAEPP, NAEPP-EPR3 guidelines and relievers by GINA guidelines. So here, simple analogy lang is para siyang fire extinguisher. 'Di ba kapag during fire, mga fire na incidents is kapag hindi pa naman malala yung apoy, gano'n, kaya pa naman siyang patayin kaagad. Magagamit natin yung fire extinguisher. It is something that we can grab, 'di ba? Something that we can grab to put the fire out. And parang ganyan din si short-acting bronchodilators or yung mga short-acting agents natin na kapag nagkaroon ng acute, 'di ba? Acute ibig sabihin sudden, biglaan na bronchoconstriction dahil nga ayan asthma, gano'n, nag-exercise ka, nagkaroon ka ng asthma. Yang SABA natin is siya yung pwede nating i-take or i-administer sa ating patient if need ng immediate na treatment. And next please. So number 2, we have indication for long-acting agents or yung tinatawag natin na LABA. Kung kanina meron tayong short-acting, ngayon naman meron tayong long-acting. So, it is used for maintenance of bronchodilation and control of bronchospasm and nocturnal or nighttime symptoms. Example nito, we have the salmeterol, formoterol, and arformoterol. Tinatawag silang controllers. 'Di ba kanina si SABA tinatawag na rescue and relievers. Ngayon si LABA naman is healers. So next slide po. Okay, thank you. Si LABA kasi meron siyang slow time to peak effect. So, after administration ng LABA is kailangan mo munang maghintay ng mga ilang minutes bago magkaroon ng effect. Unlike kay SABA na mga 3 to 5 minutes is meron na siyang epekto. Yan. And in asthma, long-acting bronchodilators are typically paired with anti-inflammatory medication, just like inhaled corticosteroids, to treat both inflammation and bronchospasm simultaneously. And next po. So, before ko i-discuss itong slide na to, gusto ko lang ulitin yung sa may analogy. Kapag SABA, isipin lang natin na para siyang fire extinguisher na kaya niyang patayin kagad yung apoy, or kapag yung SABA naman kaya niya kaagad na i-treat yung bronchoconstriction or bronchospasm na sa ating airways. Kapag si LABA naman para siyang fire sprinkler or yung mga fire prevention systems natin na medyo matagal yung epekto niya pero pang long term siya. To continuously prevent fires or para to continuously prevent na magkaroon pa ng other episode or other episode ng dito ng bronchoconstriction, ng bronchospasm or ng asthma. And then next po. Ayun, tama na, yan. And then for the indication for racemic epinephrine naman is it is used because of its strong alpha adrenergic vasoconstricting effect. So ayan, 'di ba kasi sa kapag ang ano itong si racemic epinephrine nagbabind siya sa mga alpha receptor, and alpha receptor nagko-cause siya ng vasoconstriction, and it is very important, especially during inflammation, yan. And then ayan, kapag may bleeding din, very important din ito. It shrinks swollen blood vessels and reduce airway swelling. Can be inhaled aerosol or by direct lung instillation. It is it controls the airway bleeding during endoscopy, yun talaga, 'di ba? Kunwari kapag 'di ba kapag may bleeding sa isang area, ang ginagawa ng body mo is vasoconstriction, nagkakaroon ng vasoconstriction para ma-stop yung bleeding sa area na yon. Ida-direct niya yung blood to other direction. Hindi dun sa direction papunta sa may laceration or sa may sugat or something. Next po. Next, here we have the currently available adrenergic bronchodilators used in respiratory therapy. So first, we have the ultra-short-acting adrenergic bronchodilator agents, kung saan meron siyang duration less than 3 hours, 'di ba? Very fast yung duration niya. Kapag sinabi mo kasing duration, yun lang yung tinatagal niya sa system natin or sa body natin. Yung ganun, yun lang yung katagal niyang effective and active sa body natin. And then it nagbabind sila with alpha and beta receptors. So, di ba, alpha nagkakos ng vasoconstriction, tapos sa beta naman nagkakos ng bronchodilation. And then examples, we have the epinephrine and the racemic epinephrine. So for epinephrine, ina-administer siya through SVN or your small volume nebulizer and MDI meter dose inhaler. Onset niya is 3 to 5 minutes, 'di ba? Kapag onset is yun yung time kung kailan magkakaroon na siya ng therapeutic effect. After administration, ilang minutes pa ba ang hihintayin mo bago mo ma-feel yung therapeutic effect ng isang drug, yun yung tinatawag nating onset. And kapag sinabi naman nating peak, ayan yung peak ng epinephrine, we have 5 to 20 minutes. Kapag sinabi nating peak naman, yun yung tawag dito. Peak effect is the time kung saan na-achieve ng isang drug yung greatest pharmacologic response niya, yung greatest effect niya. And then kapag duration, nasabi ko na kanina, na yun yung itinatagal niya lang sa system natin, kung gaano lang siya katagal na active and effective sa ating body. And then sa racemic epinephrine naman, it can be administered through SVN. Its onset na minutes. Same with the epinephrine. Same sila ng peak which is 5 to 20 minutes. Pero magkaiba lang sila sa may duration. 0.5 to 2 hours lang yung kay racemic epinephrine. So, mas matagal na nag-stay si epinephrine na active and effective sa ating system than the racemic epinephrine. Next, please. Ayan. Ito yung examples natin ng race make. Itong sa may box, yung box na may blue and red na color. Yan yung sa race make epinephrine natin. And then itong brown naman na box and itong meter epinephrine. Next. Short-acting adrenergic bronchodilator agents, 4 to 6 hours. 4 to 6 hours. So, medyo matagal-tagal siya than the first one, di ba? And then, it binds with beta-2 receptor. So, these agents are selective, di ba? Selective kasi nagbabind lang sila sa mga beta-2 receptors. Unlike kay ultra-short-acting adrenergic bronchodilator agents, non-selective sila. So, nagbabind kasi sila sa may alpha and beta receptor. So, pwedeng magkaroon doon ng side effects. Dito, selective. Pwedeng meron siyang side effects or wala siyang side effects. And example natin, we have the metaproterenol. Metaproterenol can be administered through SVN. And onset niya is once. And peak is 60 minutes. Greatest pharmacologic response. And then the duration is 2 to 6 hours. Sa albuterol naman, it can be administered through SVN. Onset niya is 15 minutes. Yung peak niya is 30 to 60 minutes. And the duration is 5 to 8 hours. Next po. So next we have the perbuterol. Si perbuterol can be administered. Its onset is 5 minutes. Ayan, 5 minutes bago magkaroon ng effect. And then peak is 30 minutes. Duration is 5 hours. Levalbuterol naman, it can be administered through SVN and MDI. Sa onset naman niya is 15 minutes. Medyo matagal-tagal siya. Pero yeah, 15 minutes. And then peak niya is 30 to 60 minutes. And then the duration is 5 to 8 hours. Next, please. Ayan. Ayan. Here are the examples ng mga short-acting adrenergic bronchodilator agents natin. Okay. Next po. So next, ito yung last. Ito yung last na, ayan. Last one is sa long-acting adrenergic bronchodilator agents natin. These agents, ang duration nila is 12 hours. Tapos selective din sila kasi nagbabind sila with the beta 2 receptors. Mga selective agents mga to. And then examples are, we have the salmeterol, formoterol, and arformoterol. So salmeterol, it can be administered via DPI or your dry powder inhaler. And then onset, 20 minutes. Peak is 3 to 5 hours and duration, 12 hours. Diba? Ang tagal niyang nag-stay na active and effective sa ating system. Diba? Sana all And then, here we have the formoterol. Formoterol naman is can be administered through SVN and DPI. Yung onset niya is 15 minutes. Ang peak niya is 30 to 60 hours. And then, duration is 12 hours. And then, our formoterol naman, it can be administered through SVN. Onset is 15 minutes. Peak effect is 30 to 60 hours. And duration is 12 hours. And that's it for my topic. And for the next slide, may I call on Mr. Ominga to discuss this next topics.
Thank you, Miss Aizili. So now, we will be moving on sa ating next topic, which is we'll be discussing yung mga specific adrenergic agents natin and their certain formulations and how they are, how they are given sa mga patient natin. So I made a flow chart for us to have a better grasp dito sa mga specific adrenergic bronchodilators natin kasi masyado silang madami. So ang simple idea na lang behind this is that adrenergic bronchodilators, no, has classes. May mga class to. So, as you can see here, we have two class na nakikita natin. We have catecholamines and the other one is modified catecholamines. So, pag tinanong sa atin, no, pag may nagtanong sa atin na anong adrenergic bronchodilator ang ina-administer sa pasyente mo. Pag sinabi ng other one, catecholamine, malalaman na natin agad na yung mga ginagamit are those natural producing molecules sa katawan natin such as yung epinephrine, pati yung racemic epinephrine. So if pag sinabi na ng other person na catecholamine, may idea na tayo na epinephrine, parang ganun. And the other one is modified catecholamine. Pag sinabi na modified catecholamine, this can vary, no? Madami kasi ang under dito. We have resorcinol agents, mga salicylic agents, mga long-acting beta agonists natin, and others such as and which we'll be discussing naman further on sa discussion natin. But uh, first and foremost muna, let's start with catecholamines. So catecholamines, no, as we've discussed earlier, catecholamines are sympathomimetic bronchodilators that either possess the catecholamine structure or are derivatives of it. A catecholamine consists of an aromatic catechol nucleus and a dialiphatic amine side chain. So, uh, i-discuss lang natin yung basic catecholamine structure dito. So, basically, sabi lang that to distinguish a certain adrenergic bronchodilator kung catecholamine ba siya, dapat yung specific adrenergic bronchodilator na ito has these structures to be classified as a catecholamine. So a benzene ring, hydroxyl groups attached at the third and fourth carbon positions forming the catechol nucleus, which is very distinct sa ating catecholamines, and an amine side chain attached at the first carbon position. So sabi dito, the terminal amine group or NH2 and the benzene ring are connected by two carbon atoms designated as the alpha and beta carbons. So makikita natin dito sa figure na to, we see the structure mismo. So we see the hydroxyl groups and kita-kita natin at the carbon number 3 and carbon number 4. And this certain parang piatos na nakikita natin dito, this is the benzene ring or also the uh, um, pagkasama na yung hydroxyl groups, this makes up the catechol nucleus. And we see the amine side chain, yung NH2 dyan. We see additional carbons, no? Kita natin, between the carbon 1, may plus 2 carbons dyan, yung CC, before mag-NH2. Yun yung designated alpha and beta B carbon. So, ano ba yung significance ng dalawang yun? We'll be further discussing it. So, moving on. So, and we have type examples of catecholamines. So, furthermore, we have additional examples ng mga catecholamines. So, alam na natin, no? Catechol nucleus, pag present yung mga yon, hydroxyl groups sa 3 and 4 carbons nila, we arrive with certain catecholamines. So, ang examples nito are dopamine, epinephrine, norepinephrine. Alam na natin yan. These are occurring naturally in the body or is being produced naturally in the body. Specifically sa ano natin yan, sa um, adrenal glands natin. No? So we have isoproterenol then and isoetherin as another example of catecholamines. So moving on. So additionally, catecholamines also referred to as sympathomimetic amines. Na-mention na natin yan. Basically, they as being referred to as sympathomimetic amines, they mimic the actions of epinephrine. More or less precisely, their physiological effects include, no, just like a normal epinephrine that is being produced by our body, certain catecholamines also exhibit certain characteristics of effects na meron din ang epinephrine. So we have tachycardia, and elevated blood pressure, smooth muscle relaxation of bronchioles, smooth muscle relaxation of skeletal muscles and blood vessels, and so on. So just like Miss Sai said, no, they mimic or basically they are called adrenergic bronchodilators kasi they induce certain effects that would benefit our patients, such as smooth muscle relaxation, skeletal muscle blood of our skeletal muscle blood vessels and our bronchioles. But as we know, epinephrine has also many side effects, no? So that's why it's not very advisable that you take it on a daily basis or you take it as a kumbaga parang maintenance kasi it can induce certain side effects din na which is not very good for the patient natin. So next. So before we head on, no, let's briefly discuss, no, adrenergic bronchodilators as stereoisomers. So going back sa ano natin sa biochemistry natin, we know that certain molecules can exist in a spatial can exist in certain spatial forms. Precisely two different spatial forms in a certain space. Ang tawag dito are stereoisomers or also known as enantiomers. So these occur due to rotation around the B carbon on the ethylamine side chain of the catecholamine structure. We've noted earlier that there are two additional carbons na meron or present sa ano natin sa catecholamine structure natin, which makes up the alpha and beta B carbon. On that certain beta B carbon natin, certain rotations around that beta B carbon makes up enantiomers. So that rotation in mind produces two non-superimposable mirror images, identical chemical formula, but different physiological activity. Examples of this are, next slide, please. Example of this, ito. And we have epinephrine as a main example. So the two isomers, so alam na natin, in a spatial arrangement, a certain molecule can exist in two different spatial arrangement. So we have S isomer or dextro isomer for epinephrine and R isomer or also known as levo isomer. So ang dextro basically ang isipin na lang natin diyan is for for the description of dextro ang main idea diyan is uh, main idea diyan is yung mga dextrorotatory they rotate light clockwise, no? Basically clockwise means right, mark as positive or ayan, kita natin mark as positive or D. Ayan, kita natin dextrorotatory they rotate the uh, light clockwise papunta sa right and they are marked as positive or D, while levorotatory substances or molecules rotate light counterclockwise or to the left, marked as negative or L. These are basically optically active isomers, also called as enantiomers. So for S-epinephrine, etong mga to, pag yung mga S-epinephrine natin, they are not active at adrenergic B receptors. So previously considered physiologically inert, anong ibig sabihin yan? Basically, it has no impending effects to basically benefit another. So uh, walang physiological effect. It has no effect that may benefit another. So also called dextroisomer or in a sinister S configuration. So next natin yung S isomer. Active, yung levoisomer natin or R-epinephrine natin is what we commonly use. So itong structure na to or the R-epinephrine is what we use, no? Active at airway beta 2 receptors, produces bronchodilation, also active at extrapulmonary anergic receptors, natural occurring epinephrine siya, exists only in this form, also called levoisomer or rectus R in a rectus R configuration. So alam natin ang R-epinephrine or in the laboratory form is the only form in which how the epinephrine conveys its effect. So dito sa R-epinephrine lang nahahanap yung bronchodilation effects ng epinephrine. So next. So yun. The two isomers rotate light in opposite directions, as we said earlier, dextrorotatory, positive, laboratory, negative. This is the origin of the terms D and L. However, the modern designation uses spatial configuration, such as R, which is right, and S, such as left, sinister rectus. So, moving on, after epinephrine, we have racemic mixtures. So, ano nga bang racemic mixtures? Many synthetic adrenergic bronchodilators are produced as racemic mixtures. Ang ibig sabihin nun, there is a 50-50 ratio of equimolar mixture of R and S isomer. Ang example nito is epinephrine, albuterol, salmeterol. So kaya, as previously discussed earlier, sabi ni Ms. Sai is that we have a presence of racemic epinephrine, which does, has the characteristics of a 50-50 ratio. So yun. So additionally, levalbuterol, which is released in 1999, is the first synthetic inhaled solution available as only the R isomer, derived from racemic albuterol, contains only the active bronchodilator component. So, yung albuterol daw natin, which is the racemic form, alam natin may R and S isomer yan. Pag tinanggal natin yung S isomer dyan, we only arrive with R isomer. So, ang final formulation na yun is the levalbuterol. So kaya sabi dito, this levalbuterol is the first synthetic inhaled solution available as the only R isomer. So next slide, please. So moving on na tayo sa mga specific adrenergic agents natin. We'll be keeping in mind itong mga characteristics na to, no? Para hindi tayo malito. So we will be taking notes sa chemical structure nila, sa duration of action nila, sa receptor selectivity nila, sa stereochemistry nila or isomers if meron, and formulation differences nila, which how it imposes its effects sa mga pasyente natin or sa mga users natin. So next please. So yun, epinephrine classification natin dito, it's a potent catecholamine bronchodilator. It stimulates A and B receptors, which tells us it lacks beta-2 receptor specificity. So because it is non-selective, side effects are very common. Tachycardia, increased blood pressure, tremor, headache, insomnia. Also used as cardiac stimulant, strong B1 effect. So basically, sinasabi lang dito that epinephrine is very potent, no? It is non-selective. That's why it is not very recommended for users to use epinephrine kasi it may impose many side effects since it is given that is non-selective, which we will discuss kung bakit nga ba certain effects happen with different receptors. So moving on, epinephrine occurs naturally in the adrenal medulla. Sorry pala sa kanina, imbes na adrenal gland, adrenal medulla po pala. So yun, rapid onset, short duration, metabolized by catechol-O-methyltransferase or also COMT for short. Clinical use ng epinephrine inhalation for asthma exacerbation, subcutaneous injection, and intramuscular injection for anaphylaxis. Self-administered intramuscular doses nito are 0.3 milligrams and 0.15 milligrams. So as they say nga, this is very useful lang for acute asthma management, but not very ideal for daily maintenance therapy due to the pharmacokinetics and side effect profile epinephrine has. So parenteral form, we have parenteral form, which is the natural extract, contains only the R isomer or levo isomer, which is um, has only the impending effects such as yung bronchodilating effects. So synthetic nebulized form nito it is in the racemic mixture, contains R isomer and the S isomer. Mode of action ng epinephrine, basically same as natural epinephrine lang, produces A and beta B and beta stimulation. Only the R isomer is active at adrenergic receptors, which is the parenteral form. So moving on. Formulations ng epinephrine natin, injectable. We have also racemic epinephrine, which is nebulized, as discussed earlier, and in a metered dose inhaler. So, yeah. So, moving on po. So, before we head on ulit, no, we will be discussing briefly this keyhole theory of beta-2 specificity. So, alam naman natin that when it comes to adrenergic bronchodilators, we want kumbaga parang gusto natin that the beta-2 specificity, yun yung goal natin. Kasi under the beta-2 specific receptors, those yung feedback ng katawan natin when those are stimulated are very beneficial sa atin kasi yun yung goal effects natin or yun yung majorly yung effects ng beta-2 receptors, yun yung gusto nating effects. So the keyhole theory explains why some adrenergic drugs are non-selective, just like epinephrine, or more beta-2 selective. So ano nga ba nagdetermine sa specificity ng mga adrenergic drugs? Yung determining factor is side of the side chain attached to the catechol structure. So ano ba yung side chain na na-attach sa catechol structure? Yun yung diniscuss natin earlier, the amine side chain, the NH2. So sabi dito, the larger the side chain attached to the catechol base, the greater the beta-2 receptor specificity, the less the alpha activity. In simple terms, small side chain fits many receptors equals non-selective. Large side chain fits beta-2 receptor better, which is more selective for beta-2 receptor, which is very beneficial sa atin. So basically, sinasabi lang yan, the larger equals the better. Ayun. So, think of the drug structure. Ito, analogy lang. Quick analogy. Think of the drug structure as a key, plus think of the receptor as a keyhole. If the key is small, it can fit into multiple keyholes. And if the key is larger naman, which has a bulkier side chain, it fits more specifically into the beta-2 receptor binding site. So we don't want a small key kasi it can fit or it can be precipitated into many receptors. Kaya ayaw natin yun. So bigger side chain equals greater beta-2 specificity. Ah, So, next, no? Metabolism of catecholamines. So, ano nga ba meron dito? Syempre, certain routes of administrations kasi ng catecholamines undergo metabolism kahit ano namang ano yan. But truly, majority of catecholamines, all true catecholamines are rapidly inactivated by COMT, which was noted earlier. So, ano nga ba ang COMT? COMT is found in liver, in kidneys, and throughout the body. So, yeah, so ano nga ba ginagawa ng COMT natin, no? What does COMT do? So, metabolism of catecholamines, the process of COMT is basically it transfers a methyl group to the carbon 3 position on the catechol nucleus, converts the drug into metanaphrine. So, makita natin dito at figure A, no, sa A, O-methylation of catecholamine. So starting natin sa epinephrine, when it is detected by COMTs, a methyl group is transferred dun sa carbon number 3 natin, which just from the transfer alone, it converts the drug to another, so which is metanephrine, which is ano na the result effect is uh the resulting compound na is inactive at adrenergic receptors, which thus has no effect na sa mga adrenergic receptors natin, which we want kasi dun nakukuha yung mga effects na desired effects for bronchodilating. So COMT, we don't want that. Yun yung final conclusion natin for metabolism. So next. And because COMT works very efficiently, no, duration of action is severely limited. So typical duration, no, for certain drugs daw, imbes na super tagal nila, no, because of COMT, yung duration of action is very limited na lang. Typically 1.5 to 3 hours at most. This explains why early catecholamines are short acting. Catecholamines are also inactivated in the gut and liver, where they undergo conjugation with sulfate or glucocoronide at the carbon 4 position. So, metabolism of catecholamines, let's just note COMT, and catecholamines additionally are inactivated with conjugation with sulfate or glucocoronide, thus having no therapeutic effect when taken orally. Therefore, as sabi natin kanina, routes of administration are limited to inhalation and injection. This COMT and conjugation are major limitations of catecholamines. So next, catecholamines. Additionally, catecholamines are unstable when exposed to heat, light, air. They can be oxidized to inert adrenochromes. This is why racemic epinephrine is stored in amber bottles or foil-protected packaging. Because of oxidation pala, sa mga nebulizer tubings natin, no, pag gumamit tayo ng drug that is catecholamine, no, yung tubing may appear pink. Patient's sputum may appear pink tinge, hindi blood yun. It's basically oxidized catecholamine since may presence nga kanina ng air, mga ganun, ng heat. So yun, tapos na tayo sa first part natin. We'll be moving on na sa mga modified catecholamines. So yeah, let's move on na sa modified catecholamines natin. Before ako mag-head on sa mga modified catecholamines natin, ang ibig sabihin lang ng modified catecholamines or any of those agents under modified catecholamines is basically tinanggalan natin ng certain structure yung catecholamine structure to remove the catechol nucleus, no? When we remove that catechol nucleus, we remove the susceptibility ng drug to the COMT enzymes and the conjugation uh, metabolism na nangyayari. So thus, we will be having a more profound effects of bronchodilating or certain effects that these agents can have. So, more longer, yun, ganun. Hindi na inactivate. So, first and foremost, we have resorcinol agents. Main example of this or highlight example of this in the book is metaproterenol, which is a modified catecholamine structure. So, ano nga ba nangyayari? So, yun. Ang nangyayari dyan sa structure niya is hydroxyl group shifted from carbon 4 to carbon 5. No, thus producing a resorcinol nucleus, which is not a true catechol. Since it's not a true catechol na siya, it is not inactivated by COMT. So yeah. So duration action niya 46 hours, longer than catecholamines since hindi na siya na inactivate ng COMT. Slower peak effect than epinephrine, 30 to 60, suitable for maintenance therapy. And it is beta-2 preferential, can be taken orally, versus inactivation by sulfatase enzymes in GI tract and liver. So yeah. So idea dyan, why it lasts longer, may modified nucleus, not recognized by COMT, longer duration. Why it can be taken orally, it resists GI and liver enzymes and activation. Why is it better than catecholamines, long-acting, beta-2 preferential, and suitable for maintenance therapy? Yun lang. So yun, ito yung basic idea for metaproterenol modification. Yun. So next modified catecholamine natin is saligenin agents. Main example is albuterol, referred to as salbuterol in Europe. Modification of the catechol nucleus at the carbon 3 site produces a saligenin structure. So this albuterol has a beta-2 preferential. So kita natin siya. Yung structural significance nito, modification at carbon 3 produces saligenin structure. thus not a true catechol. So, clinical significance ito, beta 2 preferential, orally effective, since alam naman natin na hindi na siya true catechol. Duration up to 6 hours na yan. Next natin, yung formulation ng saligenin agents or the albuterol, available in various pharmaceutical vehicles in the United States. It can be oral extended. It can exist in oral extended release tablets, syrup, nebulizer solution, metered dose inhaler or API, effective via oral administration ng ating albuterol. Okay. Perbuterol, additionally, sa ano natin, sa saligenin agent. Yeah. Hindi pala, hindi pala. Perbuterol, no? It's another class. It is a non-catecholamine adrenergic agent. Structurally similar to albuterol, it contains a pyridine ring in places of the benzene ring. So yun yung nag-iba sa structure na. Thus, hindi siya true catechol. It's beta 2 agonist side effect profile same as other beta 2 agonists. So beta 2 preferential. So pyridine ring replaces benzene ring, non-catecholamine structure. Yung clinical profile nito, rapid onset, duration 5 hours. See, mas matagal siya sa mga catecholamines natin. Similar efficacy and toxicity to metaproterenol, less potent than albuterol weight-basis side effects, same as other beta-2 agonists. So duration of action nito, 5 to 8, as we discussed earlier. Ang formulations nito are available as perbuterol acetate, or also called Maxair, or additionally metered dose inhaler, breath-actuated inhaler device. Yan, yung strength nito, 0.2 milligrams per puff, usual dose, 2 puffs per liter. So additionally, a non-catecholamine drug is bisolterol. This is a prodrug, no? Since alam naman natin ng prodrug, what is prodrug ulit? No? Prodrug is yun yung a drug that is in active form. So saka lang siya, when met by enzymes in our body, saka lang ma-activate. So anong nag-iba dyan? Aromatic ring contains two lead ester groups of carbon 3 and 4, and tertiary butyl substituent on amine side chain prevents MAO oxidation, protected from COMT metabolism to converted to active form now, which is the colterol, since kita naman dyan sa figure. So next. So bisolterol again, non-cotylamine prodrug, active form nito is colterol, which is beta-2 selective, bulky side chain, since we discussed earlier sa keyhole theory natin, gives beta-2 preference, provides local lung effect due to selective accumulation, duration of action to prolonged sustained release effect up to 8 hours, onset and peak similar to inhaled metaproterenol, gradual hydrolysis, slow release of active colterol. So itong provides local lung effect pala. It is very very good for us kasi we don't want certain side effects to happen, no? Such as nangyayari sa epinephrine, which is very non-selective. Thus, hindi siya nagkakaroon ng local effect. It has a more broader effect sa system natin. So, and formulations niya administered via inhalation solution, hydrolyzed in lungs and tissues, the active bronchodilator, which is called colterol, oral and IV administration animals, non-selective distribution. So marketed daw siya in US, but removed from the market now already. Bisolterol itself is inactive, and kung bakit nga ba siya prodrug, until hydrolyzed by esterase enzymes, colterol protected na siya from COMT and MAO, allows the prolonged bronchodilation effect. Clinical relevance ito, inhalation preferred, local lung effect, faster hydrolysis in lungs, gradual activation offsets, rapid inactivation of catecholamines. So next, we have levolbuterol. Levolbuterol is basically kapatid to ni racemic na albuterol, but only contains the R isomer of racemic albuterol. Lacks the S isomer, which may antagonize bronchodilation. Pero preferably, it has beta-2 selective, eliminates potential negative effects ng S isomer. Bronchodilation is more targeted due to single isomer formulation. So yeah, levolbuterol. Duration of action ito, for the peak effect on first expiratory volume natin in 1 second, last 8 hours for the 25 milligrams dose. Onset and duration similar siya sa racemic albuterol when using equivalent R isomer doses. Stereochemistry nito, as discussed earlier, pure air isomer lang ang ginagamit natin dito, which is the levoform. S isomer in racemic mixture is inactive or may promote bronchoconstriction. S isomer metabolized more slowly than R isomer. Single isomer formulation reduces off-target activity. So that's all for stereochemistry ng levolbuterol natin. Formulations nito, and mga formulations nito, HFA propelled MDI, nebulization solutions, and yan yung mga concentrations niya. So, clinical equivalence nito, 0.63 milligrams of levolbuterol roughly uh, is equal to 2.5 milligrams racemic albuterol, same onset and duration. So we can get the same duration, same onset ng racemic albuterol with levobuterol in a lesser quantity lang. So lower side effects, may dose efficiency siya, at yung therapeutic significance nito is allows targeted bronchodilation. So yeah, which reduce, yeah, ideal for patients sensitive to tachycardia or tremors. So yan, uh, lastly, last na ata to. So, long-acting beta-2 adrenergic agents natin, the evolution of adrenergic bronchodilators shift from non-selective short acting agents, epinephrine, gawin nating beta-2 selective agents yan, lasting 4 to 6 hours, which is albuterol and levalbuterol, which are true long-acting agents. So, purpose of LABAs, no, provide prolonged bronchodilation, as discussed earlier by Ms. Sai, reduce dosing frequency, and offer overnight protection for asthmatic patients. So, examples of salmeterol, uh, examples ng LABA pala natin are salmeterol, formoterol, at alformeterol. Ang pinakaiba lang nito sa short-acting agents, no, summary lang natin is that um, it is longer acting. Yun lang. Kaya nga LABA. Yun. Key pharmacologic feature nito, LABAs achieve a 12-hour duration of action due to unique drug receptor interactions. So very, 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 very long. Sana all. Salmeterol is okay? Examples ng labas natin are salmeterol, racemic mixture of 2 enantiomer siya. Salmeterol is a long-acting and beta-2 selective adrenergic. Ayan, alam na natin, it has a duration of action of 12 hours. It is because of the lipophilic side chain na naka-anchor sa molecule to the cell membrane, which allows sustained receptor activation. Ang formulations nito are dry powder inhaler, for maintenance therapy, hindi siya suitable for acute asthma relief. Like epinephrine, it is a racemic mixture with the R isomer providing most of the beta-2 activity. So yun, salmeterol yun. Next natin is formoterol. Formoterol, again, a long-acting beta-2 selective adrenergic agonist with a 12-hour duration of bronchodilator. Unlike salmeterol naman, it has a rapid onset of action, roughly 2 to 3 minutes, making it suitable for both maintenance therapy and prevention of exercise-induced bronchospasm. Formoterol is a racemic mixture with the RR isomer providing most of the beta-2 activity. Just like other LABAs, it has a lipophilic side chain allowing sustained receptor activation. So yun, available tong formoterol as dry powder inhaler or aerolyzer or certihaler and as a nebulized solution. Example of nito is performers for COPD. Lastly, we have arformoterol. Arformoterol, again, long-acting, beta-2 selective, 12-hour duration. It is the single RR isomer of racemic formoterol. So again, from formoterol, as discussed earlier, ito yung single RR isomer ng racemic mixture nun, providing selective beta-2 activity. Arformoterol is indicated for maintenance therapy in COPD and is available only as nebulized solution. Again, lipophilic structure, sustained action. So next, mode of actions natin. So mode of actions of adrenergic bronchodilators, paano nga ba nangyayari yung effect ng mga adrenergic bronchodilators natin? It stimulates beta-2 receptors which induce effects of relaxation of bronchial smooth muscle. Some drugs also stimulate alpha and beta-1 receptors which thus gives us additional clinical effects. So ayan, mga receptor effects natin, we have alpha-1. Ang effect dito are vasoconstriction, decongestion of upper airway. Next natin is B1, beta-1, heart rate, myocardial conductivity, contractility. Ang beta-2 naman natin, ayan na, bronchodilation, inhibition of inflammatory mediators, stimulation of mucociliary clearance. So a further specification sa mechanism nila. Beta-2 agonist binds receptor, activates GS protein, a subunit exchanges GTP to GTP, activates adenyl cyclase. So adenyl cyclase increases CAMP, which thus gives us the effect of smooth muscle relaxation. Yung CAMP naman natin decreases myosin light chain kinase activity, thus reducing contraction. CAMP also reduces intracellular calcium, thus giving us bronchodilation. So yun yung ideas of beta-2 receptor mechanism. Next is A1 receptor mechanism. A1 agonist, examples of this are phenylephrine, activates GQ protein, thus giving us the phospholipase C, or also known as PLC. PLC gives us IP3 plus DAG. When we have presence of IP3 na, there's an increase in intracellular calcium, thus giving us muscle contraction, or also vasoconstriction. So yun. I forgot pala earlier to put, we have alpha-2 din, receptor mechanism nito. Alpha-2 receptor mechanism, GI protein activation inhibits adenylyl cyclase, thus decreased CAMP gives us decreased neurotransmitter release, thus giving us a feedback inhibition. Yun. So, long-acting beta-2 agonist yung mga laban natin. Ano nga ba mode of action nito? So, salmeterol, formoterol, alformeterol, 12-hour duration. Like, bakit super tagal ng duration ng mga labas natin? It's because of the lipophilic side chain or the tail, which is anchors in membrane exocyte, which gives us the prolonged receptor stimulation. Salmeterol having slower onset, but formoterol and arformoterol faster onset, still long acting. So next. And binding mechanism nito or yung binding mechanism ng laban natin is that start tayo sa drug structure. Yung polar at yung lipophilic tail natin. Yung polar is yung head. I don't have a figure to show, pero basically, polar plus lipophilic tail binds to exocyte in the receptor region. Active head repeatedly binds and detaches. Continuous receptor stimulation, prolonged bronchodilation. So formoterol and arformoterol can approach receptor from aqueous phase, giving faster onset. So because of the tail na nagbabind sa exocyte in the receptor region, yung active head natin repeatedly binds and detaches. So bind, detach yung nangyayari. So next. So yun yung binding mechanism ng ating LABA. So that explains yung long duration ng ating uh, labas natin. So lastly na, routes of administration natin for certain drugs, no? We have inhalation. So MDI, nebulizer, DPI, yun yung mga physical dosage forms in which yung routes of administration nila is inhalation. Preferred route, rapid onset, smaller dose, fewer systemic side effects. So this basically gives us 100% bioavailability. Targets lungs directly, local effect, reduce tremor, tachycardia. So inhalation is very ideal, no? So onset and duration ito, per catecholamines, 1 to 3 min onset, peak 15 to 20 min, duration 1 hour. Non-catecholamines, 5 to 15 min onset, peak 30 to 60 min, duration 4 to 6 hours. Salmeterol, natin yan, slow onset, pero yung peak has 3 hours and duration 12 hours. Formoterol, long acting, like salmeterol, pero pinakaiba lang is rapid onset. Continuous nebulization, severe asthma, ayan, given na yung dose dyan. Benefits ito, less clinician time, effective at lower dose, fewer side effects, and fine. Next, oral route, no? Convenient, reproducible, but slower onset, roughly 1.1 hour to 50 minutes or peak, 1 to 2 hours. Duration naman nitong pag oral route yung administration natin is 3 to 6 hours. Higher doses required, more systemic side effects. Higher doses required kasi for oral routes, no, it undergoes first pass effect, no? So catecholamines ineffective orally since alam na natin it is metabolized by COMs and certain enzymes. Non-catecholamines may lose beta-2 specificity orally. Extended release oral albuterol, longer protection but inhaled long-acting agents are more preferable when it comes to oral route. So next, parenteral route, subcutaneous, intravenous. Alam na natin, parenteral route basically means injection. So use in emergencies or severe asthma. Subcutaneous, dinideliver natin yung drug sa fatty layer under the dermis or subcutaneous tissue. Epinephrine, ayan, the doses, and terbutaline, ayan yung mga doses nila. Intravenous, isoproterenol, cardiac stimulant, not preferred for asthma, and yung mga drugs that can be administered sa intravenous route natin. Intravenous, directly na sa veins. That's the idea behind that. So yeah, that will be the end of my discussion. May I call on the next reporter, Ms. Maria Sabrina, for the adverse effects of beta agonist therapy.
So moving on to the adverse effect of beta-agonist therapy. These conditions are commonly used to treat respiratory conditions such as asthma and COPD because they help open the airways and improve breathing. Pero of course, like all medications, meron din sila mga possible side effects and they require proper monitoring. Now, before discussing the side effect, let me briefly explain what beta-agonists are. Although na-discuss naman ni Zaisi and Carlo kanina, let's just have a short recap na lang. Beta agonist, ito yung mga drugs na nag-stimulate sa beta receptors sa lungs natin. When these receptors are activated, the airway muscles relax, causing bronchodilations, which makes breathing easier. Now, there are two main types of beta agonists. First, we have the short-acting B agonists, or yung tinatawag natin SABAs, which provide quick relief. Now, ang main purpose nito is to provide immediate symptom relief by quickly relaxing the airway muscles and opening the bronchi, allowing the patient to breathe more easily within 1 to 5 minutes. Kaya nga lang, yung effect po nito is short-lasting lang, typically only 46 hours. Kaya they are used as rescue or as needed medication rather than for long-term control or for prevention of symptoms. Now, these medications quickly open the airway during asthma attacks, relieving wheezing and chest tightness and coughing. They provide fast symptoms relief and are used only as needed, not regularly. Now, this is the illustration of how SABA medications affect the airway. So, as you can see sa first photo, ito yung normal airway natin. So, naka-relax siya, open, maganda yung pagka-widen po ng muscle. Now, sa gitna, ito na yung magkaroon na siya like asthma attack. Pag napansin nyo po, yung wall po niya, nag-tighten siya, sumikip siya. Which is, yun talaga yung nangyayari pag nagkaka-asthma attack po tayo. Mahirap huminga. Kasi nga, nag-tighten po yung airway natin. Now, sa third photo po, dito na gumamit siya ng SABA. And as you can see dun sa may blue line, unti-unting nag-widen po yung muscle natin. So, ganun yung nangyayari pag nag-medication ka po ng SABA. Now, here are some of the examples ng short-acting B agonists. So, I saw this phrase sa internet, which we can use to remember yung tatlong rapid-acting bronchodilators natin na ginagamit usually for asthma. We have here sabi, storm lung treatment. So, kunin lang natin yung first letter per word. S is for salbutamol or albuterol. L for levosalbutamol, and T for terbutaline. Next, we have the long-acting beta agonists. Ito naman yung mga medications which are used for long-term control and prevention. They have a slower onset, taking about 10 to 20 minutes. So, matagal-tagal bago maka-feel ng relief yung user, pero unlike sa short-acting beta agonists, sa long-acting, their effects last much longer, typically 12 to 24 hours. Now, what do they do? So basically, like it says sa slide, LABA medications keep airways relaxed for many hours. It prevents symptoms from happening, reduce frequency of attacks, and improve daily breathing control. Now, these are the examples naman for long-acting beta agonists. We have here salmeterol, formoterol, and vilanterol. Kung sa short-acting, ginagamit siya lang for emergency or kaya biglaan. Ito naman, they are taken regularly, usually twice a day. So, to provide consistent long-term control, they're often combined with inhaled corticosteroid or ICS to enhance their preventive effect and better manage airway inflammation. So, sa labas, LABA should not be used alone in asthma because they may increase risk of severe attacks. Why? Kasi kahit nakaka-relax siya ng airway muscles and nakakatulong sa breathing, they do not reduce yung inflammatory sa airways. Asthma is primarily an inflammatory condition. So using LABAs alone can mask symptoms without treating the underlying problem. This can give a false sense of control, and if an asthma attack occurs, it may be more severe. It will make it more severe or even life-threatening. That's why LABAs are always combined with inhaled corticosteroid kasi yung ICS natin, kinokontrol na yung inflammation. Kasi pag sa LABA, it only helps the airway open easily. Now, what are the adverse effects of beta agonists? Although beta agonists are effective, they can produce several side effects. The most common ones include hand tremor, palpitations, fast heart rate, nervousness, and headache. Some patients may also experience moderate symptoms such as dizziness, insomnia, nausea, and throat irritation, especially when using inhalers. In rare cases, more serious complications may occur, including arrhythmias, chest pain, low potassium levels, high blood sugar, and paradoxal bronchospasm, where breathing actually becomes worse instead of better. Now the question is, bakit nangyayari mga to? Well, this happened because of beta agonists do not only affect the lungs, they also stimulate the heart and muscles. Bakit? Why? Beta agonists are designed to target beta 2 receptors in the lungs to relax airway smooth muscles. However, the body has beta receptors in other tissues too. So, all throughout siya sa body natin. So, these drugs can have effect outside the lungs. And yung process po na to, ito yung tatawag nila na systematic or extrapulmonary effect. Now, certain patients are more prone to adverse effects such as elderly, those with heart disease, diabetes, hyperthyroidism, and patients using high doses are frequent rescue inhalers. Elderly people may have weaker heart and lungs, making palpitations or tremors more likely. Those with heart disease can have increased heart rate and chest discomfort. And sa diabetic patient naman, it may see a rise in blood sugar. And while people with hyperthyroidism may get worse tremors and rapid heartbeat. Patients who use high doses or frequent rescue inhalers are also at higher risk for tremors and palpitations and nervousness. Now that we know the risks, let's talk about how we assess patients safely. Here, first and foremost, syempre pre-treatment assessment muna. This is crucial because it sets the baseline. Without knowing where the patient started, we wouldn't know if the therapy is working or causing harm. This step also allows for individualized treatment plans. Before starting beta agonist therapy, kailangan natin evaluate yung overall condition ni patient. This includes reviewing their medical history, such as heart disease, diabetes, or yung thyroid problems nga, because this condition can increase the risk of side effects. We also check here the vital signs like yung heart rate, blood pressure, and respiratory rate. Pwede din mag-procedure ng lung function test such as yung spirometry, yung andyan sa picture sa gilid, or peak expiratory flow rate, which will help us track improvements over time. Finally, we review the patient's current medications to provide interactions, and we assess symptoms such as frequency of wheezing or shortness of breath to understand the severity of the disease. Next, in monitoring effectiveness, dito natin matitignan if effective ba yung therapy or if it's achieving its intended goals. So, to determine if the beta agonist is effective, we look for clinical signs such as reduced wheezing, less shortness of breath, improved ability to perform daily activities, decreased reliance on rescue inhalers, and objective measures like improved peak flow readings or spirometry. Next, we monitor the side effects. This step balances the therapy's benefit with patient safety. By monitoring side effects, clinically can adjust the dose, switch medications, or intervene before serious harm occurs. Now, while evaluating effectiveness, we must simultaneously monitor for adverse effects. We check for heart rate and rhythm. Since B agonists can cause tachycardia or arrhythmias, blood pressure should also be monitored, especially in patients with cardiovascular issues. Tremors, nervousness, or headaches are common but should be noted for severity. For patients in high doses or with chronic use, lab tests like serum potassium or blood glucose may be necessary because B agonists can lower yung potassium and it may also rise yung blood sugar levels. Now lastly, we have the patient education. Like I say sa slide, proper education helps prevent complications and improve treatment outcomes. Patient education is an essential part of clinical assessment. Importante siya. Kasi teaching patient the correct inhaler or nebulizer technique ensures the drug reaches the lungs effectively. We explain different between rescue and maintenance medications, the, the importance of following the prescribed schedule, and what to do if symptoms present. Patients are also advised as lifestyle measures such as avoiding triggers, staying hydrated, and knowing when to seek medical help. Educated patients are more likely to use their medications correctly, reducing complications and improving outcomes. Now, let's have a summary lang why is it essential na matutunan natin how to clinically assess ang beta-agonist therapy. So first nga, to verify the patient is actually improving. Second, to catch treatment failure early, to prevent overuse and complications, to evaluate inhaler technique, and lastly, to guide next treatment decisions. Now, in conclusion, beta agonists play an important role in managing asthma and COPD by improving airflow and relieving bronchospasm. However, they may cause adverse effects, especially involving the heart and muscles. Through careful assessment and monitoring, patient education, we can ensure that beta agonist therapy maintains both safe and effective. Now that's all for Group 6 report, and thank you for listening.